Hello, everyone! Welcome to another virtual event with Mysterious Galaxy. I am Nick, the Director of Events here for the store. I would love to introduce two wonderful authors. You may recognize one face, and one face may be newer to us. I would like to say hello to Catherine Bakewell and Allison Saft. Hello!
Hello!
Hi!
Catherine Bakewell writes fantasy fairy tales for anyone with big feelings. Her middle grade fantasy novel, We Are the Song, has already come out, and so we are celebrating her YA fantasy debut. This one right here, FLOWERHEART. And we were talking about this in the green room. It's been a long time coming. We're so happy for Catherine that this can be out. Joining in conversation for tonight is Allison Saft, who we have had hosted a few times already. We're so thankful for that. Allison is the New York Times and indie best-selling author of A Far Wilder Magic and Down Comes the Night. For those of you who have already pre-ordered FLOWERHEART, you have already gotten your pre-order swag. But for those of you who haven't yet purchased, what are you waiting for? Do it now, because I'm going to show this off. Catherine has gone way above and beyond and is providing all these really... I dropped one! These awesome pre-order goodies for everyone who pre-ordered and buys the book while supplies last. We have two wonderful art cards. Who did the art on these? I know you said these are your artist friends, so tell us about them.
The green one is by Caitlin Patton, and she drew that after reading the book like 4 years ago.
Wow.
And then I emailed her and I said, "Hey, the time has come. Can I please share this with people?" And I was like, "I will pay you." Like she gave that to me for free, and she was like, "It's my pleasure. I'd absolutely love to." And then it's so good.
Something for free. That good.
I know. It was stunning. And then the yellow one is by my friend, drawn by 27 Emily's on Instagram. Just Emily in real life. And she is another awesome friend, and she is actually British, and so sometimes I'll ask her British questions because FLOWERHEART takes place in like fake Britain. And she's a wonderful person, and she makes wonderful art. So you should follow her on Instagram. She's drawn by 27 Emily's, like number 27.
And of course, we have bookmarks. Not only are the bookmarks signed, but you also gave us signed book plates.
Yay!
And the stickers, which it was revealed to me in chat, or in the green room, I should say, that Catherine did this one.
I did. Yep. The Power of the iPad. And then the bottom one is actually from the back of the book, and that is by the illustrator Yejin Lee, and or Shotze on Instagram, SH0TZE.
Writer and artist. I hate you double threats.
I'm sorry.
And for those of you who are watching live, there's a link down below to say buy FLOWERHEART and get a signed book plate and swag. That'll take you to our event page where we'll have FLOWERHEART as well as Catherine's other book, We Are the Song, and as well as Allison Saft's books, because supporting these authors also supports us and helps us get doing wonderful events with wonderful authors. If you would like to submit any questions that you would like to ask during the event, we have another button below that says ask a question. Those will be answered later on the program. So I hope you come up with good questions to submit, folks. And I'm going to go ahead and disappear for now and leave it to Catherine and Allison to take it away and talk about this wonderful book and its inception. I'll see everyone later.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick.
Bye. Thank you.
Yay.
Hi, friend.
Okay. Hi, friends. Well, for anyone who doesn't know in the chat, Kat and I have known each other for like, God, how many years now?
Probably 7. Wait, no, it would have been 2017, I think. 2017, 2018.
Yeah. So a long time. I'm not even neither of us have brain cells, so we're not going to do that. But all that is to say, it is such an honor and a pleasure to be here celebrating this book with you. Congratulations. Honestly, let's just get into it. So for anybody who hasn't read the book yet, how about for those folks, could you share a little bit about FLOWERHEART? What's it about? Any other details or tropes you want to tell us about?
You got it. So it is described as a cottagecore YA fantasy romance. And so for those not familiar with the term cottagecore, I also use the word pastoral. So very like lighthearted, very summery, takes place in the countryside, and also goes by cozy fantasy in this case. And it is, long story short, it's about a girl whose emotions make flowers grow. And she has to, when she accidentally curses her father to make flowers grow in his lungs, she has to team up with her childhood best friend, Xavier, who is now a like grown up professional wizard, in order to save him. And they make a very difficult bargain. And Xavier is absolutely hiding secrets. And he is frustratingly handsome now that he's grown up. So feelings, angst, so many feelings.
What more could you want, honestly? What was the inspiration? Like, what was the first spark of the idea that got you excited to write it?
Victorian flower language is so interesting to me. Also called like floriography. And that's the idea that like Victorians specifically would send secret messages with the bouquets that they give each other. So like, I haven't memorized them, but you know, like the color of the rose that you give means something. Like I think yellow is for friendship, and then red is for like romantic and passion. And so I loved that idea. I also absolutely learned about that from a Nancy Drew computer game when I was a child, and it just stuck. So that concept of like flowers have meanings and wanting to use them in potions was interesting. And then also specifically, I knew I wanted to have a character named Xavier, also connected to Nancy Drew, because there was a game where all of the characters had Roman numeral names, and I was going to do that for his family. And his family doesn't have that going on. So,
that's so cute.
Mm-hmm. But yes, so the like it's so specific. It's a deep cut. It's a Nancy Drew deep cut. Yeah, so the flower magic specifically, and also I wanted to write something very escapist and fun. And since you're going to be living in the world of your book for hypothetically a long time, I wanted it to be a really fun world, and something bright. I'm a huge Howl's Moving Castle fan, so I was also trying to like grab onto that, like the Studio Ghibli pastoral vibes. Initially, I was like I wanted to kind of hold on to like the Beauty and the Beast like tension of like he's a jerk and she's really nice, but I failed because Xavier's like a sad little breadstick boy. And then he's
I see it.
He absolutely is. And when I watch Howl's Moving Castle again for the inspo, and I see, you know, very similar, the character designs are similar with Xavier, except Xavier is like tall and awkward. But Howl is so smooth and Xavier's not. It's like I forgot to hit the final switch to make him cool. I forgot the cool switch. So, but yeah, so that's my life.
I love that. I feel like it's the perfect example. I can't remember whose quote or phrase it is, but like the leaf mold that like makes up the floor of your mind, and you just accumulate all these little details that just decay into a beautiful book. It's crazy.
This is why your prose like makes me lie down on the floor.
Oh my goodness.
Just like your description I'm like, oh my God.
Well, it actually too is a perfect segue into my next question. So like it's clear that you've like accumulated a lot of different inspirations and media that kind of fed into the final product. And as we discussed in the green room, and like you alluded to earlier, this has been a book that's a long time in the making. Mm-hmm. And I've also had the pleasure of reading many drafts of this book. I think like 2017 was the first draft I read.
I think so. Mm-hmm.
And it's so different from the final published version. So I just was curious to hear a little bit from you about the journey you went on with this book. I don't know, like the broad strokes? Did anything surprise you?
There's a lot of it's been a fun journey. Like it's first of all, thank you for sticking with me through the whole
Of
thing.
course.
Thank you for reading it again. I was like, okay, it's done this time. It's good this time. So many really interesting changes, and they go from like buck wild to like more subtle. So initially I thought the book was adult. It's not.
Interesting.
And like they were like 22, I think. And then everyone's like, Kat, this is YA. And so I was like, okay, they're 18. And then they're 17. And then my editor was like, this is very young YA, make them 16. So I was like, okay, they keep getting younger. Xavier was he was like the local wizard. Like they didn't know each other before originally. And that was kind of a later change, in fact, the fact that they were like childhood best friends. And originally that was so that I could solve the problem of the fact that they fall in love in like 9 days. And I was like, it kind of helps if they have like back some history. And then when I'm writing their story and kind of digging deeper into, you know, just the feelings that they share about different things happening in the past. I don't think there's a spoiler alert. Anyway, their shared history made the book so much richer, and it felt like it was always meant to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like the current version, I can't remember it being anywhere else. But like I think sometimes about like the truly crazy stuff that was in previous drafts. I was like, Clara got kidnapped in one draft. There was like, they went to the opera in one draft. Her dad died in one draft. Yeah, was resurrected as a zombie in one draft.
I think I read that one.
Yeah. So like, you know, to pass Catherine's credit, that showed that I was like willing to do anything to make the story work best. And a lot of the times there were a few mentorship contests where I got revision notes and I was like, okay, let me try this. But where it ended up ultimately is I'm proud of it. And especially how it ended up really becoming a story about anxiety and depression, and how just like it's so tied to emotions, it's so tied to anxiety. And I think that was something that I grew into as well. And so I think I needed to go through all those drafts to really understand that. But yeah, so we've come a long way. And I started the book in 2017, I think. And so it's very surreal that it is real and I get to share it with people. And also, so Allison and I were query buddies because I thought her pitch was awesome. I think it was like AMM's author mentor match stuff. I thought your pitches were awesome. And I was like, hi, be my friend because you're really cool.
And hey, look at us.
Yes. Who would have thought?
Not me.
Oh my gosh. But we also decided that our characters are cousins because Ren and Clara are the like ginger healer cousins. So
and Hal and Xavier have
also
black hair and they're tall.
They're tall, sad boy. Dark hair.
There we go. We love it.
Yep, the multiverse.
Yeah, no, that's it's so interesting. Like poor Mr. Lucas has really gone through it. Yes. Is there anything you touched on this a little bit. Like, is there anything you're like sad to have gotten rid of, or that just like couldn't fit anywhere in the book? Or
there was I think no, I think we got to keep them.
Oh, that's good. Wow.
Like there's some very funny things that I was like, oh man, I can't believe they let me keep that. Like the porcelain rabbit that they let me keep.
Oh yeah.
The slide they let me keep.
The slide is so cute.
The slide is very fun. And I was like, are we gonna let me keep this? Okay. And just like the silliness. Honestly, I was really willing to change anything the whole time, but I was really insistent that I wanted to keep the like lightheartedness of the book and like the bright like cottagecore world. And And so I was like, I'm willing to compromise, but like, I really want to stick with that. So when my editor offered on the book and I said, hey, just making sure, like, are you going to keep this light heart intact? And they were like, that's why I love this. And we're not going to touch it. And I was like, oh, okay, we're good. So that was a huge relief. But I, back in 2017, I got a lot of feedback from agents and folks that was like, this is too quiet. It's too low stakes. There's no market for this. And lesson to writers out there, you just wait. The wave will come.
True. It's so true. I feel like cozy fantasy is just like having such a moment right now with like yearbook, legends and lattes.
Not to be a sad panda, but I legitimately think it's because of COVID. I think that we seek a lot of comfort, especially. And I also think that there's just a big gap in the market in that place because we have had a lot of like war and conflict and like angst. And that's what's so hard about cozy fantasy, though, because it's like it has to have enough conflict to be interesting, but also you don't want to be too sad. I don't know.
But sometimes like the interpersonal conflict is like the most tense and delicious conflict there is.
That's why we love Pride and Prejudice and stuff.
Right, exactly. Yep. Oh my goodness. It occurs to me listening, I love that answer of yours. I didn't prepare this question, so sorry I'm throwing you a curveball here, but this willingness you have to change pretty much anything about the book is so admirable, but I imagine it was difficult to kind of hold on to, or was it not, like the core of the idea? Like, how did you protect it, I guess, from all of these outside influences?
I don't really know. I mean, I think Clara probably kept it secure.
Yeah.
She's so, she's so bright and hopeful and like she just tries so hard. And also like, just I could tell if the world I was creating was starting to get like too dark. I feel like it's usually like, like the kingdom is like coming in closer or like like people are kidnapping wizards or that kind of stuff. I'd be like, okay, it's to keep the stakes and keep the setting really small really helped. Like the book has always taken place in like Xavier's house. That was basically it.
Right.
So I think that helped, but also like the tone specifically. It's just not. It's not. I don't know. Just my reading experience. I don't know if a ton of other books out there have the kind of like silly, light tone. My friend,
it's very new in one way,
and I think it has that tone as well. So you could for the doobly do, Unseelie by Eva Lise Houseman. I say it has the energy of like movie Ella Enchanted in that it's just like very fun, road trippy. It does not take itself too seriously, and it's funny. And I was like, funny YA. I missed you.
Gosh, yes, it's the best.
So I've actually been listening to my own audiobook because it's a totally different experience than reading your own stuff. But so it's so good to hear just how goofy these kids are. And they're just nerds.
How's listening to the audiobook been for you? I haven't been able to listen to my own. I hear they're wonderful, but I'm just like,
I have listened to the We Are the Song audiobook a billion times. I have listened to yes, Unseelie is the Mysterious Galaxy Book Club pick this month. And
that's exciting.
I am really good friends with Eva, and I am like, I'm totally gonna call her out. I was like, you should show up at the book club. And she was like, no. And I was like, yes, you should. So if you want her email, I'll set you up. Because I was like, she's a wonderful person. She's coming to visit this weekend. She's coming to Main Street Books, St. Charles, because I live in St. Louis, St. Charles area. So I will try to tempt her into visiting the book club because I just think it's the coolest thing ever. Anyway, can you please remind me what the question was?
Protecting your inspiration. I think the tone barometer makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
And your answer about Clara also makes a lot of sense, like the filtering point of view, and which
audiobooks.
Audiobooks.
Right. That was what you're saying. But somehow like hearing another person read it and making it so cinematic, it absolutely is like a movie in my head. And it just really separates it somehow. And so it's like I'm watching the movie that I have been playing 1 minute at a time for years. Because that's what writing is for me. It's like you sit there and you watch 1 minute of the movie, and then you like come back the next day and then you watch one more minute. So it's like I'm watching the movie. Like I've listened to the audiobook probably 3 times already because it's so I just get to hear my kids, and the fact that like, you know, Madame Benamar has like a Yorkshire accent, and then there's like Scottish accents and all these cool different voices and choices that I didn't have a hand in, and it's really fun to discover. So I'm honestly, I was very surprised and thankful that it wasn't like a cringy experience for me. Like I was listening to the audiobook and I messaged my editor and I was like, this is okay. This isn't too bad. Like this book's okay.
Good, actually.
Yeah. And she was like, yeah, this isn't half bad. So
more and more people are saying, yeah.
Oh my gosh. But it's just, it's been fun to go on the journey with my characters again. Like I'm like reacting to like dumb things Xavier says, like I haven't heard it before. It's just great. Yeah,
it's so sweet. Oh, well, speaking of your kids, I love them. Clara is just, I mean, such a refreshing, like both of them are so refreshing in different ways. Like Clara is just this gentle, non-knife wielding badass YA heroine, and I love that. And so I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about her. Like, what did you most enjoy writing about her? Like, was her voice easy to sink into, or did you have to work at that?
So here's where the imposter syndrome kicks in. I've been writing first-person POV since I wrote Twilight fan fiction at 14, and in my head, everybody sounds the same. But I've gotten away with it because I only have 2 books published, so it hasn't been a problem yet. But like, you know, for my hopefully next, I don't know, YA, I have another YA that you know with like 2 POVs that are also in first person. So I have had exercise in that. But she creating her, she is just like pure sunshine. That's just her character. She is so optimistic, but also she's just very fierce. She loves very hard. She's very stubborn. She puts everybody else's needs before her own, which can like go off the rails a lot. She makes very snap judgments. She's very good at being a protagonist. She gets things done. She's extroverted, which I cannot relate to. I am like the queen of the introverts. I shut down so easily. I hate parties. I hate talking to too many people, but she like craves company. She craves love. So she, and also like, this is really weird, but this is my process. I start creating characters by designing them, like when I draw them. So when I'm getting to know them, I'm like, okay, this is what they look like. And so, you know, drawing this character with like, okay, she's got like this bright red hair. So like that kind of tells me something about her spirit to me, with flowers growing in it. And I was like, why is that? And I just kind of slowly learn about her. Or like, you know, she's got like her clothes are dirt stained. She's wearing an apron, like her favorite color is blue. I was just like learning things about her. And also she's a good foil for Xavier because like in theory, he's the grump to the sunshine, but he's more like a rain cloud. He's a little cloud.
He is. Oh, rain cloud sunshine.
Yeah.
That's
but,
so cute.
Yeah. And I love, I love like the like tall, skinny, and then like, like short and round couple. I love that. And so that's the vibe they've got going on.
Yes.
But yeah, so she just kind of like busted into my brain the way she was. And I don't think she's changed a ton. She's just very, I just know her very well. And she's I feel like she's pretty different from myself in many ways. Her experience with anxiety is something I know super well. But her energy levels, good God, like couldn't be me.
I know. Isn't it so funny how we like sometimes can just create these people who are nothing like us, but like
Yeah.
deep down in your psyche, it's somewhere.
I would be a bad protagonist. It'd be like,
Oh
and she
God,
took
me
another
too.
nap.
And then she like deliberately didn't think about her problems for like
Mhm.
2 weeks. Yeah.
You'd
That
be
would
like,
be
oh, that's
me.
literary fiction. It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay. What about Xavier? He also is just a delight in this world full of dark and brooding boys. He is, as you say, a breadstick who loves puns.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, go
Go on.
ahead. Okay.
Oh, I was just gonna. Well, I mean, what was my question? Yeah, where did he come from? Because you said a little bit earlier, like you forgot to flip the cool switch. So did he turn out differently than you expected?
So what he was supposed to be is like Mr. Darcy, Hal Jenkins, like, you know, just like the Beauty and the Beast kind of relationship of like the like cold-hearted, like curmudgeon-y guy. And the original reason was because he accidentally cursed himself not to feel anything. So he was like legitimately like very cold and unfeeling.
Interesting.
And he had experienced heartbreak and he cursed himself and it was a whole thing. But the plot changed. Maybe I'll use that again someday. But
yeah, you should.
But so he legitimately was kind of a jerk to her. But she's just such a big goof that like she wore him down. But again, like making them younger changed that, and then making them childhood friends, like that was that was some of the things that got changed in the final edits. Was like he just keeps on calling her, like he keeps calling her Miss Lucas because he likes rules and he likes etiquette, and he is just so awkward. And my editor would sometimes have to pop in and be like, please like assure us that he does actually like her. And I'm like, he does, he's just really bad at showing. But some of the other things I wanted to accomplish was I like to write boys who cry, like legitimately. I like to have that representation. Like I love to have characters who cry in general because we should be able to do that. And like especially guys should feel safe to cry. And that's like the whole point of the book is like feel your emotions. It's your emotions are there and they're fine and you can embrace them. He's very blushy, which I love. He's just like very much her opposite. Like I knew that he is just going to be like hyper introverted, just like super awkward. He's just he loves studying things. He's good at like rules and science. And I use the term like he's head over heart and she's heart over head. So he's like, okay, what's logical? And then, you know, when they're together again, he is changing. And yeah, anyway, I love him, and he's nerdy and
he's a good boy.
He does like to tell puns. I think he just enjoys making her laugh because it surprises her. And yeah, and I feel like he probably doesn't get a lot of that levity in his family. Well, at least with his dad, but with his sisters, probably maybe in secret. But when his dad is like around, probably not. So
yes. Yeah, I do love the contrast of the serious, uptight person being like, here's a moment of silliness. I know you did it so well. It's so charming.
Thank you.
Kind of continuing down the vein of character stuff, you've touched on it a little bit. Your how you explored very sensitively, I think, themes of anxiety and depression. Was mental health always kind of part of this book, or did you write your way into it as you revised?
I kind of can't even remember anymore, which is weird, but like I just become so ingrained into the present draft that it's kind of hard to remember. And also like I've written a lot of books. I have a lot of books in my it's hard to remember all of them, man. But I can tell you that I leaned into it more over time, and I became more accepting of it in myself. I think, initially I was like, don't talk about this. This is shameful, because that's kind of how society was. And that's definitely how, the world I was raised in. And then eventually I kind of like veered into like, screw you, I want to talk about this. And just making it, initially it was just that her magic was like misbehaving, and it would not talk to her. And then eventually I made it such that it was like an anxiety analog, just straight up talking to her. I was like, this isn't subtle. Oh, well. So
subtlety is overrated. I mean,
yeah, I was like, it's okay. And it's actually funny, because I've seen some people be like, I don't get what she's trying to say here. And then someone else is like, this is not very subtle. And then someone else is like, I think this is like just the right level for like teens to connect to. But it's like, you just need to relate to it. Like if you have not had that experience of like that voice in your head just like telling you everything that's going to go wrong, or like how awful you are constantly, like you won't really you won't relate to it. But yeah, so I leaned into that more, and going to therapy, and just being very conscious of my own mental health issues. And a lot of the techniques that I learned in therapy I became magic lessons for Clara. And
that's so
like,
cool.
oh yeah. Like she does like an exercise, like brief. There's a mention of like picturing yourself walking through the forest, which is something I did in therapy, or like the breathing techniques and stuff. So I secretly hope that some therapist out there will someday recommend this to a kid. It'd be like, so yeah. And then, depression, especially, I really relate to. It's a hard thing. It's frustrating having a brain that does not cooperate with you. That I'm like, listen, we're on the same team here. You're just supposed to run the meat machine. Like, don't like make it work. Okay? So, and just like, oh, thank you, therapist person in the chat. But also like having a discussion about like, medication is a good thing. Therapy is a good thing. And having that kind of nuanced conversation. And also it's set in the 1870s purely because of the vibes. And also mental health care was really crappy back then. So that's why in this world, all of the witches and wizards basically have this attitude of like, we don't interfere with matters of the heart. That was basically because the Victorians were not good at handling that kind of stuff. So no. Yeah. Anyway, I'm like,
oh, that's fascinating. I those are some new details to me, actually. Yeah, it's cool to get the little behind the scenes of like how that theme influenced your world building decisions as well. Is there anything else you want to tell us about the world building, like a favorite element of it, or?
The symbol for magicians used to be the moon, because that's like every witch and wizard does that. And then I was like, their whole thing is like growing plants and like being involved in nature. So it makes more sense that the sun is important to them. So that was a change I did. And also kind of, I put that into the lore a little bit more. Like magicians believe that like human beings like are part of the earth, and that magicians specifically have this like connection to the earth, and that like they are like made of like the sun, and it's just like it's all tied together. And like Claire is talking about how she feels like complete when she's standing in sunshine and she's outside. And she's like, why do we do lessons inside? Like I feel myself when I'm outside. So I leaned into that a little bit. I also here it's a very soft world building. And here is my weird hot take on that. Because like there's no like sitting down and being like, here are the rules of how everything works. And it's just I think it's fun to just be like, dive in, accept that these are the rules, let's go. It's very fairy tale in that way. And I absolutely write fairy tales where it's just like, this is just how it is. I have this world building concept I call the airplane rule. And here's what it is. If I was writing the story of my life, And I was like writing the whole story of my life. And I was like writing it to like an alien, for example. I'm writing the story of my life to explain to an alien about my life. I do not need to go into the like in-depth explanation of how airplanes work in order to successfully tell the story of my life. I will probably mention that airplanes exist because, you know, it's like, oh, I went to France at this point, so I took a plane. But like the narrator, don't know how airplanes how airplanes work. So I just got there. So, you know, if I was studying like aerospace engineering and that was my, you know, specialty, then that would connect to the world building more. But like, you know, Clara probably doesn't know like how does it work technically? Why do some people have it? She doesn't have an answer for that.
She's like,
She's like, it's just the world that I live in. So that's my little hot take. I think
I love the airplane rule.
I was just like, if you can function, you know, if the character doesn't understand how the thing works, like there's no reason that they would.
I'm with you. Yeah, it certainly avoids the block O text explaining anything. But I agree with you. It does give it such a fairy tale quality and the whimsy. I mean, you sacrifice whimsy when you get into rules. And I mean, that's what I love about this book, and what I love about things like you mentioned Howl's Moving Castle. It's like, yeah, 7 League Boots just exist, and that's how it is. And sometimes you open a door and you're in Wales, and
that book is so
dang.
good. Oh my gosh. I love how it's so different from the movie. Not even
it is, yeah.
When I watched the movie again, I was like, this is really anti-war, and I'm here for it, and not what the book is about at all.
At all, yeah.
Yeah. But I love it, and I love those two separate things. So yeah, I reread the book to help get inspired and figure out like what is it about the book that I really like that I want to emulate in my own story. And like the banter was so fun. Her banter with Hal was really great. And then in Howl's Moving Castle, just like it's so romantic. Just like, oh, it's so romantic. It's so swoony, the music and them just like staring at each other. And the whole vibe of like girl can save guy. I'm like, yeah.
Yes, we love that.
Like girl is gonna go save the boy. I just love that so much. Aww. Anyway, thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Thank you. Let's see. So I see we're getting some good questions from the audience. So I'm going to wrap it out with like the last 2 that I have. So would you like to tell us what your favorite scene in the book is? Or your favorite moment? Or is it all too spoilery?
I absolutely have a favorite scene. The picnic on the cliff scene.
Good one.
Yeah. Again, I'm really delighted that they let me keep it. It has one of my favorite. Okay, my what did she say? My editor said something like she was like, yeah, underline the tension. She's like, we need more tension, more tension, more tension. And so I kept like putting these 2 kids closer and closer and closer together physically, and just like underlining. There's a point where they're under an umbrella together, and how she's like, oh my gosh, I'm like literally like pressed up against him, which they're Victorians. When they touch each other's sleeves, they lose it. Yeah, so so just like,
who said this book isn't steamy? Come on.
Oh my God. Yeah. A scandal indeed. But so that scene had like a pinch of Howl's Moving Castle, and then a pinch of Pride and Prejudice vibes, like the, you know, especially like the cliff country, and then also the end of Little Women when they're under the umbrella together. Which I think is and oh my gosh, and he's like, I have nothing to give you, my hands are empty, and she holds his hand because they're not empty now, and I lose it. Anyway, I'm
that's good.
I'm such a big romantic. But the and then what the activity they do together, which I the anger releasing exercise they do, which I'm not going to go into, but it makes me laugh. It is very silly, but like it gets, you know, they dive deep into some real emotions, and I think it's the first time they really open up to each other after years of silence. But it's just so silly. I love it so much.
Yay.
And they the porcelain rabbit staying from the first draft. I was like, you've made it so far.
The strongest creature on earth.
I love to imagine Xavier's mom coming home and then being like, "Where's all my stuff?" And he's like,
"Oh,
like, all my stuff's gone." So,
okay, awesome. So I think I'm going to transition to the audience questions. And the first one we have is from Kels, and Kels asks, how did writing a YA fantasy novel differ from writing middle grade?
That's a really good question, and my answer is really silly. I thought that We Are the Song was YA when I wrote it. And then my friends were like, Kat, no. So even though like it has not changed at all, basically. Like my like there was never a romance in We Are the Song. It was always a story of like finding your place and like, finding your voice, and this very like meek, kind of naive, but like really good-hearted character. So that was a really easy transition to make it middle grade because it was already middle grade basically. So, and again, just imposter syndrome. I was like, it feels the same to me, but I keep getting away with it somehow. So I honestly think that my body of work, my oeuvre, is like right in the middle of middle grade and YA. Because I've heard people say like We Are the Song is too old for middle grade, and I've heard people say that Flowerheart is too young for YA. So there you go. I don't know what I'm doing. That's the answer.
I feel very much the same about adult and YA. I'm like, looks the same to me. That's funny. So yeah, if Flowerheart started out as adult, what are you going to need to write first if you try to write an adult book? Is there a geriatric literature?
I have to do it wrong. I have to do it wrong to get it eventually. But yeah, again, like props to the moral of the story to that is like write the weird Catherine version, and then someone who's professional will look at it and find the good in there and say, okay, this is what you're actually doing. But yeah, so like a lot, like the descriptions are, you know, my level of description is pretty similar because I'm just like, I did a lot of poetry in middle school and high school, and that's kind of my flowery description roots are there. So I think also just like the naivete was what the middle grade was the big difference with the middle grade. Like she just wasn't as savvy about the world around her. I also think kind of as a rule of thumb that middle grade is like understanding how the world works, and then YA is like understanding where you fit in that world. So there's a little bit of crossover, but so I basically think that I kind of stumbled into that, and I followed the notes of my editors, and I made the books the best that I could, but I did not intentionally go into We Are the Song thinking it was middle grade. So I'm so sorry. It worked out okay in the end.
It sure did. Okay, more on this theme. Taylor asks, what were the differences between writing Flowerheart and We Are the Song?
So another thing about We Are the Song is that it's kind of a recycled idea of mine. I wrote this book about a 17th century lady composer who was using her male best friend's name in order to get published. And I was also what I thought was an adult, and then I queried it and everyone was like, what is this? And I went to I was a choir kid, and I went to a choir practice with my mom, and being in a room with all these people singing together and our voices mingling, it felt very magical. And so I came home and I said, okay, what would a world be like where music is magic? And that led to me creating a religion around that. And that somehow my brain combined the composer's story and this like music religion world and squished it together. So I'd say the biggest difference is that book has changed very little from the idea to the ending. And that also was written, I guess I wrote it in like 2019. I ended up creating a religion. Don't you just hate when you actually? I mean, it's just very like lady. It's just Lady Jesus. So like, I write what you know, and they let me get away. It's a whole thing. What was it? But what was I saying a few seconds ago? I'm so sorry. The brain cells are still loading. The difference being that it went from it took a lot longer to write Flowerheart, so I was much more invested in the characters, and they praise Lady Jesus. I've been on the journey with them longer, so it's a different emotional journey, and yeah. I hope that was a good answer.
It was a great answer. Next question is, are you still planning on entering the world of adult fantasy?
I didn't know I ever was.
Huh? Well, are you planning on entering the world of adult fantasy?
I'm kind of a weenie. I don't think I could. I don't read a lot of adult books anyway, honestly. I love how fast-paced YA is, and then I love the gentle heart of middle grade. I always make exceptions, like kind of funny because like I write this very like sweet, lighthearted books, but like I really love Juniper and Thorn by Ava Reed. It was like, oh my gosh, it was like, this is stunning. This is like, it's very, very dark, but I love it immensely, and I love the fairy tale vibes and the themes that it explores. So I like that can be accomplished with adult stuff, but that's not a world I feel ready to tackle yet. I have a few story ideas that I have even said, like, write when you're more jaded. So,
oh God. Well, I hope that day never comes, my friend.
Thank you. But also I feel like I feel like grown-ups would be less forgiving of kind of like a hand-wavy magical system. So
I actually recently I read you would like this book, Kat. Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies.
Yes, I've seen that.
It is so good. Just pure whimsical joy. Speaking of Howell Jenkins-esque love interests.
Yes, yeah. There's a meme on the author of Modern Divination, I think is what it's called. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It made a meme of like all the Spider-Men pointing at each other. And it's like the Howl's Moving Castle Club of my book, Modern Divination, Emily Wilde's, and I think the Vermilion Emporium was the other one.
Oh my God, that's actually so true.
Yeah, so we're all the kids who grew up being like, oh my gosh, Hal Jenkins. So
yes. So all that is to say, I think they're similar in YA. Cozy fantasy is becoming more of a thing in adult as well. So
yeah,
maybe someday.
So maybe someday.
Yeah.
I would love to keep writing more books, period. I hope I get to do this again.
Yes, I am very confident you will. Taylor asks, what is the best way to make writer friends?
Oh my gosh. So back when Twitter was a nice place.
Was it ever?
It was a little bit more pure during that time. But honestly, if you're on Instagram, I think you can kind of accomplish this too. I just risked reaching out to people, and usually it was like if I saw something about their story or if I saw like an aesthetic of their book, I would be really specific and say like, not with an agenda of like, maybe this person will become my critique partner, but legitimately saying like, hey, this sounds awesome, I'm cheering you on, like just like following along in their journey. Or many times, sometimes back in the day, someone would say, hey, I'm looking for someone to look over my first chapter. And then if you volunteer, that's a good way. I have kind of a network of people from those times, though. So I can't really speak to being able to do that now. And I don't know as much about the like online spaces for finding people and connecting. Your local bookstore, or your local library, or your local Writers Guild might have something. There are like Reddit threads, and there are communities out there on the internet that I think that you can find. But I will also say that for critique partners, if the first one doesn't work out, that's okay. You might have to go through a few people till you find something. I also say when you're kind of like trying to test the waters with a new partner, to do 2 chapters and stick to that. The reason I do 2 is because the first chapter will be polished, and then sometimes the second chapter is not. And also you don't have to make the commitment of reading a big long book that you might not like or be a good fit for. So it's worth it though. For the emotional support, querying, and when your book is on submission, it's so rough, and it is so nice to have people to whine to have a safe space to ask questions to, and not like, vomit it out onto the timeline, but ask your friends in private. And also you learn so much. Like Allison like inspires me so much as a writer, and like I want to level up to her ideas are so big and beautiful, and her prose is so amazing. I remember you wrote an article about like Gothic literature when Down Comes the Night came out. That was another one of my laying on the floor moments, because I was like, I hope I'm that smart someday. Oh my gosh. It's so beautiful. Yeah, you're very powerful. Keep everyone go read out. Anyway, so it is, it involves being vulnerable to go find your people, but it's really worth it. So I wish you all the best finding those people.
Next question is, have you ever sent a message with flowers? Did the recipient get it? Winky face.
No, but that would be fun. I do like to send bouquets to people, usually my mom. Just because like honestly, like there was when I was on deadline for book stuff, sometimes I was just so stressed. I couldn't figure out like how I was going to take care of myself or how I was going to eat. And I was like, I can't even think about that. I need to focus on writing this book. And my mom would like send me meals and take care of me. She lives in the same city as me, but she would just like go above and beyond to take care of me. And so I would send her flowers and be like, thank you for doing this. And I made sure to put a note in the acknowledgments of like, thank you for feeding me. So yeah, I like to, I like giving gifts to people, as that's my love language, but I've never been like not been able to do like a sassy secret message with flowers. Also, I feel like that would be expensive to make make a custom bouquet these days. Like a bespoke,
to express your disdain for someone. It's like, who's winning at that point?
I like that energy. Who's winning at that point? I like that energy. But also like I look for the cheapest option in the coupon codes for 1-800-Flowers or whatever. So no, but it's a vibe. I appreciate it.
Let's see. Oh, wow. Next question. For me, is there anything you can say about A Fragile Enchantment? Is there anything I can say about it? I think the cover is in the works. I pitch it as Bridgerton with magic meets The Prince and the Dressmaker. It also has a sunshiny, naive, big-hearted gal who finds herself embroiled in a scandal when she catches the attention of the prince of a nation, who she's been commissioned to design the wardrobe for his wedding. So things get quite awkward.
It's what my heart needs. It was made for me.
I hope you like it. Yeah, Kit is my most controversial love interest. I think he's
really.
I think so. I mean, I get a lot of like Hal is baby boy, and he's like a war criminal, and I was gonna say, like, and like meanwhile, Kid is like a mean, prickly guy who's like doesn't want people to know he's feeling anything, and he's like a
Aw.
recovering alcoholic. And I've had some people be like, "Whoa,
Oh,
he
I
is
can't wait to
just
read
over
that.
the line for
Oh
being
my
mean."
gosh.
He's
That's
just an
so
18-year-old boy, so
Oh my gosh. You
anyway.
know, like I think about this a lot about like enemies to lovers kind of things. There has to be a point where you can tell that they enjoy each other. I mean,
Yes.
because I was like, why are these like Cardin and Jude? I love them immensely. But I was like, what do they like? Stabbing, I guess, is what they really connect with. But like, I mean,
The
I think it's just
erotics
like
of bullying,
I think it's
apparently.
I think it's just a sensuality thing, and like more power to them, and
Yes.
that's okay.
I do love them.
But
So.
I do I also when I rewatched the Twilight movies a while ago, and when I'm watching it, I was like, why are they together? Do they like each other? Like they just had nothing. But when you read the books, like they had banter and they had this silliness, and like she would tell jokes and stuff, and it was she softened his edges, and
Yeah.
I was like, so anyway, so that's something I like to think about is like, why do these two like each other? So, and like write down a list of like, he likes her because
Yes.
make sure.
Yes, I think Neve and Clara would get along with the wearing down their beleaguered love interest with endless sunshine.
Yes.
But back to Cat Bakewell and not me. Will you ever write a sequel to Flowerheart?
I want to so bad. I hope I get to. I have a sequel idea. I worry about causing pain to my children, but so I have two options in my head. I was like, okay, so I have like the actual sequel, and then I have what I call Flowerheart 2, just vibes, where it's just like it's just like domestic, like totally nothing bad happens, because like there's a demand for that, and you know, people read fic about that kind of stuff. And so if my editor is like, yeah, let's do it, Flowerheart 2, the vibes go on, I would so do that. Or maybe it could be like a novella or something.
Oh my gosh, yes. After
Yeah.
the Mysteries of Thorn Manor, the Sorcery of Thorns novella.
Yeah.
There's gotta
Yeah,
be
I
a
don't-
market for it. That book was also so good. Oh my god.
I can't wait to read that. I put off Sorcery of Thorns because it was I think it was Margaret Rogerson has been a comp for me, and I was like, I cannot read her work until my stuff is done.
You've never read a Margaret Rogerson?
I did not want to. I don't know. I didn't want interference, so it's on my shelf. I have it. I have it. So sorry, you're next on my TBR. So.
Oh shucks. Very well.
But I would love to. Please buy my book so I can write a sequel.
Yes, everyone buy Flowerheart from Mysterious Galaxy. Click the button below.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Hit that bell.
Ring that, smash that like.
Oh God. So I think we probably have time for one more question, and I'm going to take this question to ask you if you can tell us anything about what's next for you.
I wish I knew. I am currently in the big stew of anxiety because my whole life is like a big choose your own adventure of like what could happen next. I can tell you, I have a middle grade story that I hope something cool happens to someday. I have a picture book that I think is going to be my magnum opus. Like,
it's very good.
You wait for it. Like, I think that's going to be like, that's the thing I'm remembered for. It's very silly. And it like hit me at like 11 o'clock one night. And I was like, I sent it to my agent and I was like, look what I did. And she goes, I could sell that.
Oh, okay.
So that's the thing. I have 2 other YA fantasies that are fully written and ready to go. And I'm like, please give them homes. I am ready to go. Because I've been waiting in publishing land for a long time. And I just have these guys ready to go. Thank you, Taylor. And then I recently was struck in the face with the Flowerheart 2 idea. And I was like, oh no. And like, I was driving, the idea came and I like frantically tapped my phone and recorded. And I was like, okay, what if this happened? Okay. So yeah, Oof, I've never written a book on deadline before, so that's what would happen with that. But
it's not. That's not that bad.
I scared. Okay. There's one of my YAs is about a lady knight and a countess falling in love, and they go to Versailles and they're shadow monsters. So I love that book. It's very weird. I hope if they buy it, that would be great. But it's like they both love each other, but neither one of them can say it to each other because they're just So
that's the good
I
stuff.
love them. Thanks. So hopefully I'll have more stories someday.
Yay.
I am, of course, the one here to bring down the mood and pull everyone back into reality. Catherine, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. Allison, great conversation partner as usual.
Shucks.
Shucks. Catherine, we cannot wait until we hopefully eventually get Flower Heart 2 hop on the vibe train. I'll shop the title with you. We'll work on it. I'll only ask for 40%. It'll be great. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight. We really appreciate it. This was fun. I was literally in the background watching, going, oh my God, this is wonderful. We hope everyone has a good night or whatever day, if you're watching this in the future. Don't forget, get your copy. There's the puppy I was promised in the green room.
I know
We literally waited.
He didn't want it to end. Please show off.
Politely waited until the end.
Hold Simba to the camera.
She's coming out. She's coming out. All right, everyone.
Here she is.
What is her name?
Her name is Marzipan.
Thank you, Marzipan.
Well,
good night, Catherine. Good night, Allison. And good night, Marzipan.
Bye, Marzi.
Bye.
Thank you for coming.
Bye, everyone. We hope to see you at our next virtual event. Bye.